Well, hello everybody, and Happy New Year's. Happy New Year's, right? New Year's Eve, whatever you say. Anyways, great seeing all of you guys here today. And for everyone who's not here today, honestly, good for you. If you're out having fun, good. I'm gonna see if I can pull this up for you guys really quickly. For any of you guys who don't live on the West Coast right now, I just want to give you guys a glimpse of what it's like living on the West Coast. Not even the West Coast, living where I live in Los Angeles. Let me pull this up. Okay. Now, honestly, I'm sure people, a lot of different ways of looking at this, but just as I'm getting ready to set the stream up today, right? As I'm getting ready, 5 minutes ago, they just put this out. I don't know, stuff like this is kind of creepy to me. This is LAPD, right? Mayor of LA has a clear message for Angelenos. Do not get together with those outside your household today. Do not host or attend a party in person. Do not travel. And then a little threat at the end. As we do every night, LAPD will have officers deployed to ensure Angelenos are being safe and lawful. So, as a result, unfortunately, actually, I like being here with you guys. But beyond that, I'm a bit compelled to be here with you guys. So, that's what we're doing tonight. We're talking about a couple things. Mostly, I want to talk about a little bit of news, and then on top of the news, a little bit of just kind of a wrap up of, I feel like, an era of things that have happened, which is a good way to wrap up tonight, right? And end of the year. So anyways, let's get to the news. This is from Andy Isaacson, I believe he's a photographer from New York. Anyways, he caught Andrew Yang. I'm going to try something. Oh, did I do that? Hold on one second, guys. I always just mute my, the all audio. Cool. I mute all the audio in the mixer, so when the music's playing or like stuff's playing in the background, I'll just put it up and it'll come through, but it didn't. So if you guys want to listen to this was a spotted out in the wild. You could tell it's New York City because it looks basically like London, just overcast and drab. It's like, I guess that's a beach, but man, it's a rough beach, right? Anyways, I'll run the tape and you guys can listen to what Andrew Yang has to say. That's it. However, for everyone saying, I've been saying for a while, Andrew Yang is running for mayor of New York City, and people are like, he's not official. Andrew Yang files to run. He just filed. It's not for real. There's Andrew Yang on video saying, my name is Andrew Yang, and I'm running for mayor of New York City. So it's happening. On top of this, again, I don't have 1,000% confirmation on where exactly this photograph was taken, because it was taken just a few days before what I just showed you guys. I have to assume it was taken in New York City. But here's a photograph that appeared on Reddit that a Yang ganger ran into Andrew Yang. And again, judging by the fact that looks like London, I'm assuming that's New York City. It's just brown brick and overcast, and I wouldn't want to be there. Anyway, there's Andrew Yang. He flipped the image around. He's wearing a mask that says Forward New York. I couldn't really find this mask anywhere. I'm assuming Forward New York is humanity forward. He's getting ready to camp. Anyway, some of you out there might be watching this and saying, well, wait a minute. I thought Andrew Yang moved to Georgia to impact the Senate race, to get Ossoff and Perdue elected. I mean, the election is soon, right? That's what I kind of thought too. The election is soon. It's not yet. Most important campaigning would be the final days, but but here's what I want to being real. I appreciate it. I have to be honest. I didn't say a whole lot out loud at the time. I let it kind of just play out. We'll see what happens. Right? Let it play out. I never for one second thought Andrew Yang literally cared about who won the Senate in Georgia. I really didn't. Obviously, as a Democrat, he probably preferred Democrats won. I don't for one second think Yang, I don't think Yang met Warnock or Ossoff and was like, you gotta be in the Senate. I think he was just kind of in limbo and he's like, I guess I'll go to Georgia. He's a man. He's definitely somebody who likes to just do things, put himself in positions for good things to happen. Let me know in chat if it's different or in comments later too. Do you think Andrew Yang going to Georgia for a few weeks is going to help him become mayor of New York City? It just reminds me of that meme, the Toy Story meme where the guy's dropping the toys. I'm done playing with you now. It's like Andrew Yang, Georgia Senate race. I'm done playing with this now. I'm on my real ambitions, running for mayor of New York City. And you can tell he loved it. He had the Warriors quote lined up and everything. I'm sure he's going to love running. He's probably going to appear way happier. You're going to see way more good Yang content. Positive Yang, fun Yang, happy Yang. Because he's not just feeling compelled for some reason. Also, I feel like when he said he was going to Georgia to campaign, there was a day or two after. I almost wonder if that was one of those things. And again, this is pure speculation, but just the vibe I got from Yang. It almost feels like when he went to Evelyn to say, hey, would you be all right if we like moved to Georgia and campaign? I could see him in the back of his head just being like, please say no. Please say no. I know, like, if I want to further my career, this is probably a good move, but like his heart never seemed into it. So I'm glad to see that he is now, you know, taking photos with fans in New York and filming videos like this, and he's not pretending that he cares about Warnock or Ossoff being elected into Senate. I don't know. Do you guys feel different? I legitimately never thought that was something he was that passionate or like. I never thought that was like actually a big deal to him, you know. So I'm glad to see he's over it as well, and he's not pretending it's a big deal to him either. And he's in New York, and why else would you be in New York in December, man? Late December, early January, unless you're running for mayor, realistically. Now, this is something else though. We'll get into because I didn't put a ton of stuff together. Mostly, you know, New Year's. So we'll hang out, keep it loose. But there is another little weird wrinkle here. It could be a big wrinkle. It could be bigger than a wrinkle, right? But anyway, in seriousness, there is something interesting going on. So, I know sometimes if you guys follow me on Twitter, it's like a lot of times I do and just going back to stuff I tweeted about and talking about it. But that's kind of what's interesting to me. Anyway, this came out today from Andrew Yang on Twitter. He tweeted out, Andrew and the team's bold predictions for 2021. I wonder if Carly is interested in finance. Zach, gotta say, what do you know? I feel like Zach Grumman's predictions are weird, and I don't agree with them. However, in seriousness, you look at Andrew Yang, number one, ranked choice voting. Now, people who've been following a little bit New York City politics and the New York City upcoming mayoral election, you might recognize something with ranked choice voting. But kind of one of those like easy prophecies where you predict ranked choice voting, and then you run an election that's going to have ranked choice voting. In 2019, there's actually an election to have ranked choice voting come up, which, you know, a style of voting. I'm a sports fan, so it makes sense to me. It's similar to how they vote for MVPs in sports leagues. So basically, you create your 1 through 5, and then you take the account of, this is a generalization, not literally how it's done, but seriously, like if you were to rank your favorite choices 1 through 5, and then if you were to take everybody's ranking of 1 through 5 and kind of average it out, right? 1 votes count more than 5 votes. Again, I don't want to get into confusing. A lot of you guys probably know exactly what I'm talking about anyways, waste of time. Anyways, why is that interesting? Why is that anything? Why does it matter? Andrew Yang has been talking about ranked choice voting for a while. Again, they literally voted to have ranked choice voting in New York City. This is a thing. Well, because there is something going on right now. This was interesting. So I remember hearing that ranked choice voting in New York City was going to be happening in 2021 for this mayoral election. And I was kind of wondering, I'm like, I wonder if that's going to be something that's going to help or hurt Andrew Yang, right? Now, I want to get into a little, we'll see where it goes. However, something that was a bit of a narrative and that was going around for a little while, it seems to be getting cleaned up a bit, but I can't imagine that, is that, oh, sorry, I pulled the wrong one up. Whoops. There was actually an attempt already made. Here, this is an article from earlier this month. Judge denies move to delay ranked choice voting. There's already people in New York City trying to spike ranked choice voting in New York City before they even do it for the first time. It's never happened before. But a Manhattan State Supreme Court judge on Wednesday refused to halt the rollout of ranked choice voting in New York City, a major victory for advocates of the new system. Yeah. Isn't that hilarious, though? It's like they haven't even done it yet. And it was, I think, like 75% of people voted for it. The only thing is, so here we go. So with military and overseas ballots set to go out on Friday for a February 2nd City Council special election, Justice Carol Edmond declined to issue a temporary restraining order or to set an expedited hearing schedule on the case, which was brought by 6 city council members and several organizations. This is what makes it hilarious. So that's what I mean. I believe this specific legal thing is just for the council race. It could be different for the mayoral race. My only point is this controversy is going to drag on. What cracks me up the most about this is, check this out. So city council members were trying to block ranked choice voting for the upcoming city council elections, which is hilarious to me. It's like, no, we can't have this. And it just, the typical knee-jerk phony BS reason. It'll harm disproportionately affected minority communities. Like, is ranked choice voting really? Like that does, I don't know, man. It doesn't see that, I don't see that harms any particular community. I think here their answer was, oh, they're old people and non-English speaking. Here we go. When they say senior and non-English speaking, what they're trying to do is they're trying to say dumb without using the words dumb, which doesn't make any sense. Like, there's no reason why seniors and non-English speakers we could not explain to them what this is, because they're not, like, seniors and non-English speakers aren't dumbos. They're just either old or don't speak English. There should be a way to, like, I don't know. I don't know. Unless, I guess, the language barrier, but we do print things in different languages, right? Like, I don't understand how someone would have an easier time grasping ranked choice voting as a concept because they speak English. Like, I'm sure a lot of people who aren't seniors and speak English will be confused by this. A lot of people are confused by a lot of nonsense all the time. I don't know. Sorry, just a little aside. It's just hilarious. It's like, why would they say that otherwise? Oh, it's going to harm seniors and non-English speakers. I was like, why? Oh, you know. And then, I don't know. I'm sure there's some BS in here from the lawyer. Just some total BS. So we'll go through 4. But anyway, though, the larger reason I wanted to bring it up, though, is because if this ranked choice voting kind of fight and pushback continues in New York City, I mean, earlier this month, before this happened, one of the main, not main, but another person running for mayor of New York City, already using basically kind of like some of the same logic, tried to block this ranked choice voting again. And Andrew Yang has been very much tied to ranked choice voting his whole time. So, like, he's going to be basically like attacks on ranked choice voting are going to be not so subtle attacks on Andrew Yang pretty much as soon as that video I showed you guys at the beginning of the stream goes live, posted from him. You know what I mean? Like, that's going to be something that's serious about this. Again, another reason why I doubt Andrew Yang is thinking about that Georgia Senate race at all anymore. That's probably, geez, remember way back in the day when I did that? It's like, again, cracks me up. Like, people are like, oh, Andrew's going to move down there. He's going to get Ossoff and Warnock elected. I'm like, dude, I didn't, again, I gave him a chance. So I didn't say a whole lot aloud at the time. I gave him a chance. But I'm like, I don't think he cares about any of this. What do you know? As soon as a real opportunity opened up, doing something for himself, not pretending he wants to get senators elected, he jumps at it. He's up in New York, taking pictures with fans, filming videos, having time of his life. So again, good for him. I'm glad, but just hilarious to watch. Again, and all those conservatives freaking out. He's gonna illegally vote for the senator. Oh my God. Like, dude, he's not even gonna be there for the Senate race. Watch. He'll be in New York City. He's got to be there, you know, for whatever nonsense there. Because he's already getting attacked in New York City because he didn't vote for mayor or whatever. So, sorry. It's just, I honestly am excited about this upcoming New York City mayoral election in general, just because of kind of how New York City's been catapulted even further into the spotlight because of all the coronavirus stuff going on. Like, de Blasio's been a big story. Whoever replaces him is going to be a big story. New York City media is so stupid anyways, so it's going to just, oh my God, I can't. We already had the Andrew Yang eats the wrong pizza story. Dude, imagine the stories that are going to, I've already seen someone today on Twitter saying Andrew Yang's a gateway to the alt-right, all kinds of nonsense. It's going to get funny. As a sports fan, I've heard what New York City's talk radio sounds like. I cannot wait. If any one of you live in New York City, please send me links to good New York City talk radio. I cannot wait to hear these people talk about Andrew Yang. I cannot wait. I know how they talk about quarterbacks. I know how they talk, and maybe sports is different than news, but I gotta imagine there's some opinion havers over there in New York who talk about what they think about the mayor. And I cannot wait to hear what they say. Oh man. Anyways. I'm all in scope, $10 super chat. Thank you very much, man. Very much appreciate it. Today, Cody, last super chat of the year. Thanks for the content and news. Looking forward to what y'all have planned for 2021. Where's the whiskey? Salute, boss. Thank you. Where's the whiskey? It's funny. I had coronavirus for a few weeks, so I just, definitely wasn't gonna drink when I had coronavirus. And now that a few weeks have passed, it's weird. I haven't even thought about having a drink in time, but I should have had something for the new year. I guess it didn't really feel like the new year. However, plans for the new year. I'm planning in the next, me and Carden are working on kind of a little side business thing. We got a big machine we're going to be doing. It's related to film and movie stuff, but nothing you guys will probably be seeing is not related to this. Anyways, though, I'm waiting a little bit longer to do that, but then I'm going to move to Nevada. Once I get moved to Nevada, I'm going to be probably doing a lot more problem solver politics content. I don't want to say daily again like we used to do, but I'm like, I can't promise Cardin will be there because we'll be separate, but like I'll probably be doing, I'm assuming daily. Can't promise that, but a lot more just because I'm going to be doing that. The last like six months, honestly, there's like been like 3 or 4 things that have just kind of kept me in limbo for the last 6 months. So I kind of can't do a lot of stuff I want. But 2021, everyone always says it, but like I'm legitimately planning in the next 10 days to be living in another state with my little new setup so I can give you guys more content on more things. Because we got the mayoral race coming up. We have just whatever Joe Biden's going to be doing his first 100 days, just kind of counting down till Kamala eventually takes over. There's going to be so much nonsense to talk about in the new year that I'm looking forward to. I wish I could have done more in 2020, but hey, is what it is. 2020, for a multitude of reasons, ended up being not quite the year me and Cardin had planned for it to be. So I'm very much looking forward to another year to talk more about this stuff, do more stuff, have some more fun. And then, is this the Yang Gang channel? It's kind of a hard question to answer. When I say yes to the Yang Gang channel, that's all we talk about. No. The thing that me and Cardin make videos about the most is probably Andrew Yang, because honestly, that's the thing I like. You'll look, there's videos not about Andrew Yang. Every now and then I'll feel like talking about something else, but for whatever reason, that tends to be the thing that I actually feel like talking about. If that answers the question, it's weird. Because honestly, the larger point of this video, I kind of made this video this whole stream is kind of to rag on Andrew Yang a little bit for pretending he cared about the Georgia heavyweight race at all, which was hilarious. Again, just it brings a smile to my face thinking of Andrew Yang, honestly, probably trying to BS himself more than BS us, that he cared about Ossoff and Warnock. I think he's in a couple pictures with the guys. He gave it the old college try, if I remember. He went down there, and there was a few weeks he was pounding pavement, filming videos. Hadn't seen him doing a whole lot of that. You know what? When I see Andrew Yang, you know what he's been doing the last few weeks? He's meeting with Al Sharpton. He's filming promo videos. He's in New York City. He's not in Georgia where he moved his family or whatever. And I guess he always said it was only till January. Dude, the last like 10, 11, 12, like most of December, I really haven't really seen him like doing much effort at all. There was that first little thing. So yeah, again, if that answers, are we a Yang Gang channel? It's like I love Andrew Yang and the stuff he's doing. I think he's a funny guy. I love his energy. I don't agree with everything he does. I think he's kind of a goof sometimes. I think some stuff like this is dumb. So no, I would never say like, yes, Yang Gang 100%. Because if he does dumb stuff, I will call him out and say whatever. Like there was a while there during the election, he was just stumping a little bit too hard for Biden. I kind of tuned him out. I'm like, dude, it's kind of like degrading the way you're cheerleading for the guy. Like, just come on, just get over yourself, move on, man. Get over it. It was there. Like there was a while there where I was kind of like, this is almost gross, man. Like he was like this close to like, not even figuratively, he was this close to literally taking the pom-poms out. I was like, it's okay to just be like, I'm glad Joe's winning because I supported him, you know? Like there's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to literally dance. You don't got to do a little fan cam dancing for him. Sorry, but but it wasn't just him, honestly. There was a lot of people I had to tune out there towards the end of the election where I'm like, dude, I don't need you to just shill for Biden to me all day. I just don't need it. I don't. People on Twitter, there's some Twitter accounts I just muted because I'm like, I can't take the endless literal advertisements just being shoved in front of my face. It's like, oh my God. It was just too much. It was too much. What's the funny thing? Yang was never an establishment, but you have to like look objectively at the sense of like he's like a CNN host who was like he was a big Biden surrogate, man. He had nothing but the greatest things ever to say about Biden. Really, he was like Biden. You gotta go Biden. Marianne Williamson even called him out. She was like, why are you like Mr. Biden all of a sudden? I honestly think it was a product of Yang not really knowing what to do. Yeah, then he went to CNN and stuff. So like I would have said Yang was establishment a year ago, but ever since he dropped out, he just kind of cozied up. However, I think running for mayor of New York City, that's where he's going to not be like that national establishment stuff, I think will be kind of receding from that because I don't think it's like great for New York City. I think he was just kind of like he didn't really know what to do. He was kind of like, I just dropped out. I guess he'll go with Joe Biden. It was raising his profile, right? Like it was doing good things for him to do that. He was benefiting himself. Because I let me know in chat if you disagree. I'm almost 1,000% sure Andrew Yang stumping for Joe Biden did a whole hell of a lot more for Andrew Yang than did for Joe Biden. You know what I mean? And that's not to diminish Andrew Yang, but it's just Joe Biden had everything campaigning for him, right? Like I think Andrew Yang getting these videos of him saying good stuff about Joe Biden and having that being spread around, that helped boost the Andrew Yang profile a whole lot more than Andrew Yang was getting Biden voters. I mean, it's kind of like politics. Like from the day he dropped out, I've understood that. That's why I didn't get super upset, but I just kind of realized, like, okay, yeah, he's gonna go on CNN and tell people to vote for Biden and kind of raise his profile that way. It's not the worst idea ever. I didn't love it though, and again, I thought it got a little bit gross for a while, especially right around like the end of the election when he was dancing around. It's like, just come on, have some more respect. Just be like, I don't. Maybe it's just, again, I'm a sports guy. It's just like you gotta like act like you've been there before when you win. I feel like it just makes it look like cooler. It makes it look like yeah, good, we won. You know. Now at the very end, hey, there's nothing wrong with getting to your knees and crying. I understand that, but you know, it's just the election. It's just, hey, you know, act like you've been there before. I guess that was more the thing. So yeah. Actually, Logan M made a good point. It is definitely very easy to see when Andrew Yang is actually legitimate. I'm going to roll this video for you guys. When Andrew Yang, anyone who just joined, I played at the beginning. You might not have seen it. If people who've been here from the beginning, it was the one I showed of Andrew Yang filming his announcement advertisement to run for office, right? But just listen to his voice, and it's far away and it's kind of grainy, but you could just tell this guy is loving what he's doing.
Can you dig it?
Here we go. Here we go.
I'm Andrew Yang, and I'm running for mayor of New York City. Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
I don't know. When I see Andrew Yang doing that, and then when I see Andrew Yang doing that clip where he's like, you know, the great thing about Joe Biden is anything Joe Biden does, because like when he's in like the CNN shilling thing, it's like that is just a guy doing a job. He does not care about this stuff at all. And then you see him doing other stuff, and he's really having fun, and he's being himself. His personality comes out. It's like everyone has it. Everyone has when you see like that sparkle in their eye, kind of like go in or out, you know? Like, sometimes you'll see people do it. It's a little bit different, but, like, you'll be talking to somebody, and they just fall into propaganda mode. Or you'll be kind of joking around. Like, yeah, you know this, and they'll just be like, oh, no. Like, all of a sudden, they're, like, very interested in, like, making sure they're like, no, there's, like, a fact check. Like, dude, it's really important you understand. Like, this has been proven by other people. It's like, dude, what the, they paying you? Like, what is this? Like, why do you care? It's kind of like that, you know? You'll see people do it on TV all of a sudden. Or it's like they'll be having fun, like, ha. But in all seriousness, it's really important that you believe this thing I'm saying. It's like, this is not interesting to me at all anymore. It just kind of feels like you're lecturing me. Or Andrew Yang just kind of felt like he was selling me something. But yeah, you could tell. So that's why I'm glad to see Andrew Yang is in New York City instead of Georgia. Because again, he didn't give a shit about Georgia. Let's be real. That was nothing to him. That was, let's keep my name in the headlines. That's why there was a moment where Andrew Yang was going around knocking on doors and people were being kind of critical of him. People were like, no, he's literally down there knocking on doors. It's like, yeah, but he's filming it for a reason, man. Like, he's not doing this out of the kindness of his heart. He understands he's doing a job. You always get paid money. Anyway, oh my God. Michael Canoyer, $50. Andrew Yang, only comment. Thank you very much. Hey, 2021, Andrew Yang's mayor. It could be 2021 could be a better year for Andrew Yang in 2020. If he actually, I was about to say, if he gets elected mayor of New York City, maybe that'll make this a really bad year for Andrew Yang if he actually gets elected. It'll be like The Wire, where you finally get elected, you have all this cool stuff you want to do. They're like, here's the $50 billion in debt we have. It's like, oh my God, what am I going to do? But in all seriousness, I think it could be, it's actually really exciting looking forward to kind of 2021 ahead of Andrew Yang. Also because running for mayor of New York City actually also seems like something that would be fun for him. Like, I think he'll enjoy doing it. So that's cool. I think that's that's like it's not going to be the 2020 shill tour he went on, more or less, where he just was kind of like, Biden, like, come on, vote for Joe, everybody. Like, I don't think he's going to be doing that. I think he's going to be back campaigning for himself. I think back, Yang would probably definitely increase taxes, 1,000%. Yeah. I mean, to be frank, like, I think almost anyone that gets elected will just raise taxes for the most part. Maybe they'll move the taxes around so you don't notice them going up as much, but that's pretty much what everyone will do. They'll just raise taxes. Yeah, so there goes that. Things I was surprised about in 2020. Well, probably just about everything, right? Surprised me in 2020. I'll tell you one thing. The way time passed surprised me. The fact that I didn't even believe it at first. And just again, like compare this version of Andrew Yang. I know it's just a little a side picture, but here's him smiling for the camera, hanging out with the fans. Like, you could see him smiling through the mask. This New York City version of Andrew Yang, I think, is gonna be a lot better. A lot more interesting than the CNN. Also, I wonder what happens to a CNN drop. Because think about that. CNN, I didn't even think about that. CNN's got some New York connections, right? I mean, the governor's brother has a show on CNN. You want to hear a funny thing about the state, but just the way New York City works? Okay, so, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure I'm trying to pull the actual article about this. 90% sure this is what happened. Recently, so we've actually talked about this a couple times. But anyway, technically the state of New York owns the MTA, which would be like the subway transit system that's inside of New York City. Beyond that. Anyway, recently they wanted to redo one of the train stations. So, in order to redo one of the train stations, the state spent a bunch of money to renovate it. And I believe while the governor was in attendance to christen this beautiful new train station New York City had, for whatever reason, the mayor of New York City didn't find it was worth time to show up. So that's also interesting. What would be the potential relationship if you were to look further down the line between whoever the mayor, because it seems like the mayor and the governor of New York City and New York probably have a fairly adversarial relationship, I'd imagine. Right? I don't know. So, Ray from Nowhere, $5. Thank you, man. A lot of Yang Gang, including me, are still in Georgia for one reason. Help Andrew Yang. Help Team Blue win both seats in that order. Dude, I guarantee you the people in Georgia campaigning for Ossoff and Warnock cared more than Yang did. And that's not like a bad thing. Good for people out there doing it. It's good for them. Some people do care. I'm just saying, like, from 1,000 miles, and I understand maybe I'm 1,000 miles away. I'm not there. It's just feels like Yang had no problem get the hell out of there to campaign for himself in New York City, because it just kind of felt like he was always 1 foot out the door. That's why I'm glad other people are there campaigning. Good. There should be people that actually really wanted to be there, but I don't know. He seems more than happy to be the other part, is almost as far north as he can get from Georgia, to be doing something else. But it's also because I think he's always kind of there was talking like March of 2020 of him running for mayor. So I think it was also just the kind of thing, maybe more charitable say he doesn't care about the Senate race. I think this was the kind of thing he had been eyeing for a long time and just been like, I gotta go. But I could just tell his heart is more in this than it was in Georgia. But it's also good why there's people whose heart is in Georgia campaigning, right? But yeah, that's just kind of my take on it. That's why I'm pretty sure we'll see a lot more interesting, different stuff going on from there. Oh no, I'm actually moving a state away from Cardin pretty soon. So yeah. So I don't know. I guess any other stuff you guys kind of want to talk about? End of the year. Going 21, it's crazy. I think the year's over. Just because the end of this year, I guess, I don't know, especially for me with how crazy the last month has been. Got coronavirus, had to isolate for 2 weeks, a bunch of other stupid stuff going on. It's like the holidays just kind of never happened. Even like Thanksgiving, we're just like, I don't know. We're just kind of like weird to think that it's end of the year now. It doesn't really feel like it. So, yeah, no, I could have sworn there was one other last thing, too, I wanted to bring up with you guys. I don't know. Do you guys want to go? Tell me. Let me know if you guys want to go through this article. Honestly, this sounds way too depressing. But I saw this article on Bloomberg Business Week, and I could not believe it. It was like it sounds like a horror movie. It's posted the other day. You know what? You know what? This is probably not the best way to end the year. But this sounds like an insane thing. The cruise ship suicide. Listen to where do they have it? It was like 8 or 9 people killed themselves, confined to a cruise ship, on one of these because of this stuff. Like, I guess I don't want to hear people killing themselves, but the larger idea that was crazy to me was the idea that, yeah, dude, like quarantine is, I guess, I don't know, maybe for me because I was in lockdown for a couple of weeks, but some of the quarantine stories are just crazy this year, man. Just like people caught in bad situations to be caught in quarantine in, you know? Anyway, again, that's, we'll do something else. That was, well, those are all employees. That's why they kind of got trapped on these boats. There's a lot of employees that's kind of stuck. NFL predictions. I think I'll just say heading into the playoffs, it's like Bills, Titans, Chiefs. Those are the teams I think are actually like really good and can win playoff games. Everyone else in the NFL, again, I just don't really care. Like, they're not going to go. Like, I know that I don't care about. I'm just looking at these teams. I don't really see any of them. They're going to be in the playoffs, right? Like, Seahawks will be in the playoffs. Whatever, who cares? Steelers will be in the playoffs. Whatever. I just feel like it's Titans, Bills, and Chiefs this season have been teams I looked at that I'm like, yeah, dude, in playoffs, they'll just beat some teams. Like, they're going to have a hard time. Teams will have a hard time beating them in the playoffs. Titans are the one team I think are like weird. Like a lot of people might overlook, but I've just seen so many. Titans are like the only team in the league where it's like they could be like down 6 on their own 5-yard line, and it's like an inside handoff is like the game-changing play they need. As long as Derrick Henry can do that, I think because their defense is good enough and their offense is good enough, they just have enough like weird game changers to like win games they shouldn't in the playoffs. Russell Wilson will blow it for the Seahawks. Russell Wilson is not. Like, here's the funny thing. People talk about Russell Wilson, how good Russell Wilson is. First of all, whenever I hear this nonsense, it happens every season, by the way. Anyone to watch it? Sorry for non-football fans on this quick, but every season you pay attention to sports media, there'll be a month or so where people are like, Russell Wilson's the best quarterback in football. I don't know why no one talks about it. He's the best quarterback in football, which always cracks me up. It's like, yeah, why don't people hammer Russell Wilson for being the best quarterback in football and not winning a Super Bowl in a decade? Why aren't the Seahawks hammered for having the best quarterback in football and having one Super Bowl win where he basically didn't have to do anything, right? Why is that not like a bigger deal? So that's what I think about Russell Wilson. Last time Russell Wilson was in the Super Bowl, they lost because he threw an interception, right? That's just the reality of Russell Wilson. He was in 2 Super Bowls. One, his team started off the game by safetying the other team. And then the other, he lost it with interception. So, sorry, being in LA and being around annoying Seattle fans all the time, I have a lot of opinions on the Seahawks. But just that's the reality, you know? The reality is he had to win a game in the Super Bowl, and he threw an interception on the 1-yard line. So, what do I think? I guess we'll get more serious. What do I think Yang could realistically achieve as mayor? Honestly, realistically, he could hope to keep. Oh, I have a super chat too. Realistically, though, I think Andrew Yang, best case scenario, could hope to just kind of barely keep things together because New York City is so in debt and so much is going on. If he could just keep the city from falling apart and kind of help a few things, not fall apart, but it's like same with LA. All of them. I'm assuming it's all you have to do is help a couple things get better. And just hold on to everything that's kind of declining, and you did a good job. Because it's tough, dude. These big cities have like people have like been born and died in the time that some of these problems the mayor of New York City is addressing, right? So that's just kind of what I think. And again, I'm 1,000 miles away from New York City, but just any big city, you're going to walk into a bunch of problems that will not be solved in your tenure. So just making sure those problems don't crush the city, and then on top of it, making gains where you can, I feel like realistically is your best bet. Anyway, Kim Villasenor said, how do you think the 2K battle will play out? Honestly, I'm leaning towards we'll never get the $2,000 now. It looks like Mitch McConnell was able to just stonewall it. I'm kind of leaning towards that's the reality. I hate that, and it's terrible, but like, I don't know. I mean, like, here, I'm just thinking in my head. If you have to imagine with Loeffler and Perdue, both, like, desperately Like, we would love to send $2,000 to people. We're on board with checks. I mean, Donald Trump's on board with the checks, right? So it's not even like, strictly speaking, black and white partisan issue, like just red blue partisan. You would think like if all Mitch McConnell had to do to keep his job was sign one $2,000 check, he would have done it by now, right? Because he's the Senate Majority Leader. If he loses, actually, I have to be 100% honest with you guys. I'm thinking back 11th grade or whatever. I don't know what they do as far as the Majority Leader if it is a 50-50 split. Because how could there be a Majority Leader if there's no majority, correct? But yeah, like if Mitch McConnell wants a majority in the Senate to be the Senate Majority Leader, I'm assuming he would want to hold on to both these seats. And if a $2,000 functional bribe is all it takes, that's cheap. That's nothing. So it's weird to not see it by now. It's one of the reasons why I can't imagine. I don't know. You just see it later, you know? That's what's a bit concerning to me about it. Yeah, everyone, dude, it's literally like it could be phrased as a bribe that Mitch McConnell would bribe voters in Georgia with $2,000 to vote for his Senate candidates, right? Like, that's why I don't understand is the fact that he keeps saying no. It's like there's angles that are just 1,000% selfish reasons to do this, and it's still being held up. That's why I'm just like, I don't know, man. I really don't know. There's so many reasons that benefit only Mitch McConnell to bankrupt. Like, even if he thinks it bankrupts the country, who cares? He gets to be the Senate Majority Leader until he probably dies. He's like 89. He's not 89. I think he's like literally 80. But you know what I mean? Like, why does he care? And also, it's like at this point, with how far in debt, like how far everything has gotten, how far so much have gotten, this idea that Mitch McConnell's like, these $2,000 checks, that's the bridge too far. All the other money's fine. That's the one. That's the one. I believe McConnell, Pelosi, and then McConnell, Pelosi are over 80. Biden 78. And then just not topical, but recent. In the last week or so, Fauci turned 80. So you got that. We literally live under the rule of a bunch of 80-year-olds. And in Biden's case, figurative, he's like 78 or 79. Isn't that crazy? All of them 80 years old. You know what? It's almost like no wonder why they're all so pro-lockdown always, all the time. It's like the people that make the decisions are the most at-risk people in the country. They're all the ones making the decisions. It's like, yeah, dude, if I was 80 years old, I probably would be like, yeah, no one should ever leave their house for any circumstance ever again, ever. For no reason. Because I'm 80, and if I get coronavirus, I can actually die. But it's like, I don't know. It was, I just, when I saw that Fauci turned 80, I'm like, he's 82. Why are they all that old? Because I feel like 80 is that age, right? Like, you know how, like, I think it's funny, like, as a kid, when you're younger, you talk about old people, and they're, like, in, like, their 30s or 40s, right? Just depending on what they look like. And then I feel like 80 is one of those ages, no matter who you're talking to. You can describe 80 as kind of old, and people will be like, yeah, 80 is kind of old, actually. 80 is like up there. Even people that are in like their 70s or 80s probably will be like, yeah, 80 is kind of like the old portion, you know? But people that are in their 80s might maybe not want to think of it as like ancient, perhaps. But even people in their 80s probably realize, like, nah, you're old. Like, you're at the age where you're probably comfortable with admitting, like, yeah, I'm old. There's no problem with that. And they're like all the decision makers. Dude, Pelosi's the weird one, man. Because Pelosi, like Fauci, he looks good for 80, right? You see him in interviews. I mean, I don't trust the guy really, to be honest, but he looks good in interviews. I believe he's like cognizantly there, right? Pelosi is like, there's times where you look at Pelosi in like interviews and videos, and you could tell, like, and I feel bad laughing because I feel bad for her, right, as a human. But it's like that person is struggling to keep things together. Like, she is not, like, she is 80 and it shows. Like, she is not ready for this. She is not prepared anymore. And I'm just sorry, I blanked on the name of the other woman. Because there's the big story that came out about how, was it Dianne Feinstein, I believe, is like actually like they're like thinking like it's kind of like going senile. And there's like people like pulling her aside and being like, hey, like you're kind of like losing it now. You understand that, right? Like that's going on all over the place. So So I don't know. I honestly don't know. Just to get back to the idea of $2,000 checks, it's like, I have no idea. All these old people are just doing weird stuff and making weird decisions all the time. They don't seem to care about anything. There's a word that gets thrown around by a lot of people, but sometimes it does feel like there should be like some kind of like somebody in charge who goes like, okay, hold on, guys. Well, it's like we can't keep doing this. This is stupid. This doesn't work. We can't just like lock everything down and send people no aid, right? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, why are we doing? Like, we should just lock them down and send them aid. Because it doesn't really make any sense to do one or the other, right? Like, normally I feel like that person's supposed to exist. They don't exist anymore. There's no one doing that. It's just, well, I don't know. I guess Mitch is gonna hold it up. Whatever. We'll just accept less. It's like, why? It doesn't make any sense. I don't know if it makes any sense. That's why I don't know. I guess I've kind of come the long way around looking at a lot of the decisions our government makes, right? I'm back at like, hey, there's got to be something we don't see. There's got to be things they don't tell us that are going on, because some of the decisions they make just make so little sense on face value, right? But I don't know. You can be frustrated by it or just kind of roll with it, I think. Because you could be frustrated as hell about this stuff all day, every day. Like, it doesn't get much better. Like the stimulus, the aid, the lockdowns. Dude, I live in California. We have our lockdowns are indefinite now. And you know what the funny thing is? I see like clickbaity news and stuff like that. Like, oh, people in California are going crazy. They're snapping. They're not going to stand for these lockdowns. Like, dude, I live in California. Let me tell you something. Most people are just going about their lives and doing whatever they were doing, living under these lockdowns. But you're not seeing like any of this. Most people are just dealing with it, to be honest, right? So, like, that's, I don't know. I don't know what. I just mean, like, you look, all this stuff's going to just keep going, and they're going to make decisions that make no sense, and it's just going to keep going on forever. Because it's like if you're doing something to combat the spread, but, like, you have to just keep the lockdown going forever, it's like, why aren't we doing something that works then, right? I don't know. Like, I know people get really, like, tribal and really touchy about this, but it's like, I'm just like more about efficacy. It's like, if there's a stay-at-home order, but it does nothing and doesn't work, why don't we ignore that and find the things that work and do those instead? Not because I deserve a haircut, but it's just kind of like, why aren't we doing what helps? Like, do the things that help. Like it's just like maybe we have to point to like the cases, and we have to make it look like a stock market graph and just turn it upside down. And say, we need the line to go up, right? But it's upside down, so that means down. Like, oh, maybe that's how our government thinks. Like, oh, line go up. How do we make it? Line go up. We must make line go up. What do we have to do? Because right now, they'll just do whatever. It's like, well, it's not helping, but just do it some more. It's like, but why? Isn't the goal to help, not to do this? Like, I understand if the goal is to lock people down, then locking them down is the only way. But if the goal is to reduce the spread and kind of get over this coronavirus thing, and the lockdown's not what's working, why don't we just find out what works better? I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy for just thinking that we should do what works and not for what satisfies tribal beliefs, right? Because, like, I don't think it's like, just open it up. Like, I don't think that makes any sense either, really. Like, if it works, I guess, but I don't feel like that would work, right? Like, it's probably something in the middle we should be doing. In between lockdowns that don't seem to help and opening everything up that's what seemed to do nothing, right? There's got to be some middle ground that actually helps. That just makes that progresses things. I don't know. Hey, I'll be honest. It's one of the reasons why I'm moving out of Los Angeles. Because if it's so bad, all we can have is endless lockdowns that just don't contain the spread. And I got coronavirus out here doing nothing. I got coronavirus and live in stay-at-home orders, like not going anywhere. Like, if it's just the way the city is designed, it's so bad that indefinite stay-at-home orders are the best they could do to sort of put a bandage on it. It's like, oh yeah, I guess I'm leaving. I'm going to a different state because I guess the way LA is designed, we'll never get over coronavirus. I don't know, because I understand people have like really tribal reactions to this, but just taking a step back and looking at it logically, it's like, if lockdowns that get extended to being indefinite is all we can do, well, then it sounds like we're just kind of like, there's no way of this. I don't want to say hopeless, but it's like just going off of that information. we're doing the strictest lockdowns we're doing strict stay-at-home orders, and we've extended them to being indefinite, and the cases just keep going up. It's like, so they're just like, what are they saying? There's just no way out of this? I don't know. I don't believe that. I believe there's other things that we could be doing that would work better. I'm not a genius. I don't know what they are, but I don't know. I have to imagine the simple, knee-jerk, easy to come up with. Like, I'm just one of those people where, like there's a pandemic. Just make sure no one goes anywhere. Lock everything down. Dude, that's like the very first thing you'd go to. There's no way that's the best idea. That's like the first idea, right? It's like the, why don't we just take the city and move it somewhere else idea. It's like, I guess. But can we think a little bit deeper? And I don't know. I feel like as like a serious, thing, no, we didn't. we never got beyond the, why don't we just take the city and move it somewhere else phase. And it's like, what do you know? It doesn't help. We're doing that. We're taking the city and just locking it down. But it doesn't help. And if it doesn't help because people aren't listening, well, it's like, okay, well, then how do you address that? I showed you guys the tweet LAPD put out today that was just like, remember, we have police on the streets because you're not supposed to be gathering. Like, wow, I get it, dude. I get it. The Yang. Okay, I can. I'll put that. The Yang Bucks video. We can do it because I have to do it muted because the new. You know what kind of drives me crazy about that, dude? About the new DMCA stuff is the fact that if I wanted to do a live stream, right, and all I did on that live stream was promote. Which, by the way, something else interesting about Yang Bucks talking about Andrew Yang running for mayor of New York City. This video was filmed in New York City, by the way. I'm pretty sure. I know she's wearing a UC Santa Barbara shirt. I'm almost positive. They mention it in Harlem in the title. But I'm almost positive, indeed, it is filmed in New York City. So, like, that's the other thing. Is that, like, obviously New York City is a big city, and a lot of people know Andrew Yang there from before he even ran. But there we go. That's in the side. I don't know. But, yeah, it's just weird, dude. The government, since I don't trust the government, it's not that, like, I don't trust the government, that I think that the government is, like, in their volcano base, engineering crazy stuff. I just don't trust them as competent anymore, right? Like, that's the larger thing. Like, I don't think they're evil. I just don't think they're competent. I just think the people making the decisions are just too stupid to make decisions that help. Because that seems to be what always happens. They're just dumb, right? People are just stupid. They just don't really seem to... I don't know. But yeah, like it is interesting thinking of what 2021 will bring ahead. Because, right, good point. They do have no reason to be competent. Exactly. They don't have to be. Like, why should they be? Oh yeah, there's gonna be vaccine issues for a while. Again, I don't think the vaccine is designed to track you. I don't think it's gonna mutate us. I don't think it's gonna give you facial defects. I think the big thing with the vaccine is it probably just won't work, if anything. Right? It'll either work fine or they'll just lie and say it works better than it does. Like that's my only conspiracy theory, which is just like a human being thing. It's like it probably just doesn't work, right? Like that's probably the rub. Like, oh, we got this vaccine in really fast. It's like, yeah, but it probably just doesn't work, right? Or like not as good as, or it just like isn't as effective as they say. Or there'll just be some weird, like, yeah, it's sort, you know what I mean? It's like first gen electronics, you know, where it's like, it's not that, and then like the second generation revision comes out and just like fixes all of the problems that all the early adopters swore like weren't really that big a deal or weren't actually problems. And then it's like the new version comes out and just fixes all of those because, yes, those were the problems. I don't know. I just imagine the same thing that like, yeah, like these first initial vaccines they send out will probably just not be perfect. They probably will. I think I heard the actual little real deal science behind them was that, you could, by the way, just again, the reason why this video is playing, one, because someone super chatted for it, but two, this is, New York City where Andrew Yang is running, and this was a big Yang thing coming from New York City. Watch it. Long video, dude. This thing goes on for a while. Like they interact with a lot of people all over the place for a while. So like I think 10 minutes long. A 10-minute long video. So imagine an entire Yang actual campaign. Like Andrew Yang running for mayor. For a full, not year, but like season, right? It'd be cool. Some cool stuff. So I'm excited for it. I think it could be interesting. Mike Yang brought up. Humanity Forward did actually. The thing with Humanity Forward, it was weird. It was like Humanity Forward started. He started doing some UBI stuff. Then coronavirus hit, so he started doing coronavirus relief stuff. And then he started picking up on CNN, and he got a podcast. Like it was just kind of like the way this year went. It was kind of like, because I got texted from Humanity Forward today because I donate to them every month. But it was interesting seeing how they kind of morphed what they were doing as time went on. Because for a while they were doing COVID relief, but yeah, then a little bit later they did start doing directed UBI pilots in boroughs of New York. So yes, Ray from Nowhere from Super Chat said primary is June 22nd and general's November 2nd. Does this timeline actually catapult Andrew Yang out of the Dem Party? If so, let's go. Good riddance. It really depends. I think if he becomes mayor of New York, right, that will definitely be something. I don't think he's going to become mayor of New York for like, he's not going to do a Pete Buttigieg and then like immediately try to dart out of there and run for president. I think that'd probably become like a decade era of his life. Even if like there's 3 or 4 years of that decade where he's not mayor anymore, but it's just kind of that post cycle. I think like he really wouldn't need to go to New York City. Because New York City is in Ann Arbor. You can't put bridge lights up and have people call it a success. Like it's a huge city. A lot of people depend on a lot of stuff in that city. There's a lot of angles to it. It's a lot bigger, a lot more complicated than what Pete Buttigieg is. He really would have to spend a lot of time in that city making changes, kind of making tangible benefits in a way, or in the very least doing something to build a profile that isn't just, oh yeah, isn't that the guy that flared out as mayor of New York City, right? Like it's a big job. You have to actually take it serious and do it for a couple of years to have it be a thing. So yeah, I think for a while, you're not going to see Yang in national politics. He'd be local New York politics. Because here's the thing, right? Like even if you're doing local New York City politics is basically national politics when you're the mayor of New York City. So that's what I think about that. I think he'd be a Democrat though, and you'll see him doing like what De Blasio's doing. He'd go on TV to do press conferences to call out big time Republicans if anything they were doing impacted. Like he'd call out Senate Republicans if what they were doing impacted New York City in a way that he wouldn't call out Senate Democrats. Like I think he'll still be aligned to the Democratic Party no matter what. It would take a while. It would be the kind of thing like how Bloomberg eventually became associated with the Democrats after a while. Like if he were to become associated with the Republican Party, or there'd have to be big shakeups with independents. Like I think he's just going to be associated with the Democrats for a while, unless somehow the independent parties shake up in a way where that's a reasonable thing. Which I have my own little weird theory. Again, though, I want to draw attention that like this was a promotional video made by fans of Andrew Yang, about UBI in New York City. You look at all the people they're interacting with. This thing still has more time. It's long. Like for a lot of people, just as an aside, the thought about Andrew Yang running for mayor is like, I don't know, man. It feels like there has been energy, pro-Yang energy in New York City for a while. Like I think he'll be okay in his run, is all I'm trying to say. This is where I'm getting into, I'm not going to say conspiracy because I don't think this is a conspiracy. This is where I get into kind of like hot take, bold prediction territory a little bit. But God, isn't it weird looking at these videos of just people maskless close together, right? Like just seeing people jumping around next to each other. God, that was the video that really made me like Andrew Yang too early on. Okay, so now it's mostly just showing interview clips of Yang. So it was like 8 minutes of them in the streets. But still, you could see people literally in the streets jumping up and down talking about Andrew Yang. Yeah, because I think the rest of it is just that. But yeah, it's like weird. It's like just weird seeing videos of people outside or in close proximity not wearing masks hanging out just because you don't anymore. Even though people do it, they just don't take pictures anymore like they used to. Yeah, I mean, how weird is it watching videos of people in Wuhan, China celebrating maskless? It's like weird, but hey, it's because I guess China found a solution that worked better for them. Perhaps a bit of more of a stricter enforced policy they had there, I'm assuming they had more effective ways of ensuring compliance in China when it came to their lockdowns and their vaccine distributions and some other stuff. Which, hey, it's a feature of their government, you know? Like, a lot of things are that. A lot of things are just features. We decide if they're good or bad, but they're just features. They're just kind of what comes with it. We might decide if they're good or bad or not, right? Like, like ensuring higher levels of civilian compliance, that could be seen as a good or a bad thing, right? Like just having making sure the government has at its disposal a really wide range of tools to kind of prod and poke and kind of motivate the citizens to behaving in a way that's kind of in line with how the state wants to be ran. There's worse things than that, right? It's not the end of the world. But we in America have different ways of doing things, right? We have our own features in America. They're not all great features, right? But we have our own features. You can decide if they're good or bad. Because, hey, it always could be worse, right? Always could be something else. Because I believe I heard a story of, I want to say it was Estonia, where what they actually would do is they would just designate days and they would test like entire cities to see who has COVID, and then everyone in the city who tested positive with COVID, they'd isolate all of them, and then everyone who wasn't positive or was negative with COVID, they'd let them just go about their lives normally because everybody in the city who had COVID was isolated, and it worked. Now, again, it was because these were cities that were designed in populations and just expectations of government and freedom and stuff existed where they could do that. I don't think in America I don't think Americans would accept that. Well, again, like someone said, it's not a feature if you like citizen journalism, because it's not a feature if you like freedom and citizen, if you like people, if you're pro-humans, it's not a feature. Well, it is a feature, though. It's just a bad one, right? But that's what I mean. Like, it is what it is. From the government's perspective, it's good. Like, hey, you think Donald Trump would have loved to have been able to just disappear all the journalists and spent 4 years shitting on him? He probably would have loved it. You're just not part of America. We don't have that feature. China does. It's not good, right? But they have that feature. The leader of China gets to press that button. Gets to just make people go away. But yeah, in America, we wouldn't stand for that. We would, even though I'm just kidding, we totally would. We wouldn't even bat an eye if it actually happened. It's just harder, right? It's just less likely to happen, I guess. Because, yeah, dude, like the stuff people are saying about Trump, other countries, straight to jail right away. They just come and grab you. No one ever sees you again. We have Guantanamo, right? Like in a slightly different reality, like every Washington Post and New York Times journalist would have been sent to Guantanamo by Donald Trump. Just right to Guantanamo. No questions. No one can ask. Where'd they go? We don't know. We even have some of the features in place in America to do that. For example, I always make this joke, but it's kind of real. Like, if men in suits in a black American-made car show up to your house, knock on the door, and just say, hey, we need you to come with us, matter national security. Like, they could black bag you and no one will ever see you again. And if anyone asks, sorry, matter national, they could just say, sorry, matter national security. Oh, I'm sorry about that. It's a matter of national security. It's like, yeah, but then you just like abduct that person and no one ever saw him again. Hey, matter of national security. Sorry about that. We have systems like that, right? A journalist could just vanish and the government could say matter of national security. But we don't do it for whatever reason. Honestly, I don't know why not. I don't know why Trump or anyone. I don't know why Biden wouldn't do it. I don't know. Like, it's just like, why not just disappear people that are bad for you? Being a nice guy, I guess, but that doesn't help you run a country. You know? Like in Turkey, I believe Turkey's a country. You don't want to just criticize the leader of Turkey freely. I don't think I don't think it's the kind of thing. Like, I don't think in Turkey they're down with people just being podcasters or or even not even podcasters. Like, I don't think Turkey's down with journalists making their entire career basically just accusing the leader of being Satan. I don't think they're as down with that. In America, we're kind of down with it for whatever reason. First Amendment's probably someone out in chat the prime reason, but we're kind of like, nah, they're allowed to say that. They're allowed to do that. Which is cool, I guess. I mean, again, from certain perspectives, people might say, hey, what matter? Because how about this, right? What about from this perspective, right? What if, should Joe Biden be able to shut down all these journalists that are going to be spreading dangerous misinformation about, COVID in the election? Should he be able to, maybe, restrict their ability to do their job? Right? Now, I'm sure a lot of people probably say, no, journalism, but, there's ways to frame it where people will just be like, oh, you know what? Actually, I hate the First Amendment. It sucks. Yeah, get rid of it. Right? There's ways they could just manufacture some consent and do all these things. Disappear journalists. Right? If some journalist was just super, had some very dangerously misinformationist opinions about important events, right? I think the government could just snap their fingers, remove them, and spin a web, and people would be okay with it. They'd be like, no, okay, we know journalism's important, but these people were spreading dangerous information. This wasn't even journalism. This was, this wasn't journalism. This wasn't journalism. That's probably all they would do. They would just say this wasn't journalism. This was a matter of national security. That's probably what they would do. But the reality, the nuts and bolts of it would be they were just journalists. They were just the wrong journalists. They were doing journalism in the wrong direction, basically. The government could do that, right? And let me know in chat. Do you guys really realistically think you'd be up in arms if the government just said, hey, no, hold on a minute. They might have said they were journalists, but really what they were doing was dangerous. It was over the line. And it was a matter of national security. Right? I think most of you in chat would probably be like, no, yeah, probably. It kind of happened with Snowden and Assange, right? Where they kind of said, no, hey, no, that's not journalism. That is a matter of national security. Totally different thing. It's I guess, man. Honestly, the difference between journalism and national security threats literally is perspective. It literally is just where you're sitting. So yeah, from their perspective, this journalism probably is national security threats. But again, the U.S. government's got systems in place where it can do things with national security threats. So all they have to do is tell you there's things you could do to a national security threat you can't do to a journalist, but you just hammer on about how they're not journalists, they're national security threats, and suddenly it doesn't matter what protections journalists have because they're not journalists, they're national security threats. There's ways around everything, right? And governments love finding them and poking them, man. Yeah, you know what's funny? Somebody will hear, they'll be like, oh my God, did you hear they arrested a journalist? Right? And then someone will be like, no, dude, you don't understand. I saw on, and then insert Tucker Carlson, Rachel Maddow, Anderson Cooper. No, I saw on them that they told actually it wasn't like that. They weren't actually journalists. They said what they were doing was journalism, but it wasn't actually. And they'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Of course. Yeah, the government wouldn't actually imprison journalists. Yeah, no, that makes sense. That's literally what would happen. That would be it. There'd be that moment where the news gets to someone unfiltered and they'd have that reaction of hold on a minute, that's messed up, man. You can't just put a journalist in jail and then they'll go online and they'll seek out news about it and they'll get the filtered view and they'll go oh, wait, no, it was totally cool for the government to do that. It was totally cool for the government to do that. Dude, I'm telling you, sometimes I'm talking to people or even reading what they write, and it's that's the propaganda that you're just channeling from the news directly at me, dude. Those aren't your thoughts. You could tell when someone's telling you what they actually think, and when they drop into just feeding you propaganda from the news. I don't want to hear this stuff, man. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to deal with this. Yeah, I mean, I honestly do not think the mayor of New York City is. I don't think there's a straight line from Senate to mayor of New York City as far as impact on stuff. Like, if Andrew Yang becomes mayor of New York City, he's going to have so many New York City specific problems. Don't get me wrong, there's federal aid and some other stuff. I understand that. But there are so many New York City problems he's going to inherit. That's just going to be where his focus is. It's going to be where there's. Like, dude, cities. I brought it up last stream. Like, the NYPD alone is like a $10 billion budget. I mean, like, the amount of just size and scope and scale of what you'd be inheriting, his focus really, it'd be unfair to New York City to have focus elsewhere at that point. So I don't know. It just kind of, what he did. Oh, here's the other funny thing too. But just like my stance always, and people thinking Trump's a dictator, wants to be a dictator. If you want to be a dictator, you wouldn't run for president. It doesn't make any sense. We have just too many expectations of president. Like, no, they have term limits. They have blah. Like, we have too many. You just do something else and then make yourself dictator. It just makes more sense, and it's easier and more effective. Also, like it did if you want real power. I always joke like this, but like, why would you ever be president? Okay. I'm just going to, again, I've done this probably I've seen before. You guys probably seen this, but thought experiment. You are super rich, super powerful, like super influential. You run things, right? Why would you ever allow yourself to be in a position where you have to have a very public job interview, basically, every couple years, where you have to beg for donations, where you have, like, term limits, where people, like, know everything about you, you have the news calling you out? Why would you ever put yourself in that situation? Why? Why would you not just find ways to keep your power and influence without all of the BS that politicians have? I can never come up with a good reason. I can never think of why. So I'll just, kind of be transparent. So I always assume most politicians end up just being stooges. Because I feel like people with real power and influence, they want all of the things that politicians have removed from them. Like having to go beg people to vote for me and beg people for money and like having like term limits, like having an election I could lose. Like, why would I want any of that stuff? Why? Like, sounds horrible. Sounds miserable. Just so everyone can call me names. And no, I'm not going to do that. I'll get some stooge to stand in for me and do that. And I'll just tell them what to do because they beg me for the money. Like, it just always cracks me up, right? Like, you're a politician, you go beg people for money, and you get elected, you have power. It's like, I don't know. I mean, I don't think they're going to forget that you begged them for money. And I don't think you're going to forget that you begged them for money. And they know you don't got the money tree out back. You got another election coming up. Another reason why rich, powerful people, why would they want these elections? There's always another one coming up. Why would you want that? Hi. So anyway, a little bit longer than I wanted to go today, but that's at the end there, a little glimpse into why I'm so dour when I talk about politicians and why I think all politicians are meaningless stuff suits. And that's why some of them, Andrew Yang, for example, personally entertain me more than others. But for the majority of them, they're all just like, they're all someone else's stooge. They're someone's fool. Every politician's someone's fool. It's just the way our system's set up. We need the rich, powerful, influential people need their fools. They need the people that go up there and embarrass themselves on TV, degrade themselves in calls, beg for money, beg for votes. They need those people. So then they don't have to do it. Someone else does. And then they hold the power because they're the ones they come beg for money. It's like there's been some leaked meetings coming out of like Joe Biden basically just being a total asshole to a bunch of like activist groups. Like total asshole. It's crazy. But I don't know. When I see that's kind of like a stuff rolling downhill moment. I feel like yeah, Joe Biden probably thinks he's some big shot president, and he's probably in some calls we don't get leaked, where people just talk to him like he's some chump. Sad, but I just let me know in chat if I'm wrong about this. I just honestly don't see how a country can function if you legitimately had real elections that actually impacted the direction of the country every 2 to 4 years. That just doesn't make any sense. Like, I kind of always joke about this, but it'd be hard to run an Arby's that way if every 2 to 4 years the direction of the Arby's could radically shift. Like, that would be really hard to do. You kind of need a long vision. You need plans that are in place for more than 2, 4, 6, 8 years. And it's kind of like, well, that's how we have Senate and Congress that could be there for a while. It's like, I guess, but even then, the majority and the leads go back and forth. Like, it's like, if it's really like that much change that happens, how come the House and power shifts and that much change never happens? And I don't know, again, let me know if there's some reason, something I'm missing, but I just don't get it, right? Like it. And people will be like, well, what do you mean? It's like, okay, yeah, stuff changes. Numbers go up, numbers go down. But, like, the reality is, like, the direction of America hasn't changed. Really hasn't. Like, we've been mostly focused on the same things. Which is as it should be, right? Like, imagine if the direction of America changed every 2 to... Like, imagine if we just had, like, this, like, full Obama direction that was totally unique from the George Bush direction. And then Trump came in and was, like, just totally unique from Obama. Like, just the country, like, we, like, printed different currency. It was so... Like, no, it's, like, the subtlest changes. There are always changes that can be reverted in a couple of years. I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think of what gets just ironed and just chiseled in. It's normally stupid procedural stuff. Like, big radical shifts don't really get chiseled in. So, like, I don't know. That's why I have fun now following politics. I enjoy it. It's fun because, like, what the hell? None of this stuff makes any sense. Dude, if Kamala becomes president, she is going to be so unprepared for that position. It's going to be ridiculous. You're going to be able to see it in her eyes. She's going to have the, like, I am Kamala Harris. Like, she's gonna like terrified, I feel like. Or no, you know why Kamala's not gonna look terrified? It's because she for sure is on those Xans, man. I am 1,000% convinced. Let's just say I have reason to believe from experience watching Kamala Harris. She takes a lot of Xanax, man, especially during those debates. She was one of those debates. I mean, she was just like she was just answering every question with a slur, just kind of like this little grin. She's like, I don't know why I'm doing a southern drawl when I do it, but she looked like someone who was not sharp, just to be frank. And yeah, I couldn't imagine. And it's not because, like, I'm not, like, trying to, like, just, like, be like, Kamala, but just thinking from Kamala Harris's perspective, like, dude, she tried to run an election and got hammered. People really don't like her. She just isn't personable. She isn't that likable. She lies about weird stuff. Dude, like, I mean, like, I don't know. I have to be honest, I didn't really think Kamala Harris celebrated Kwanzaa. And then when she did that weird Twitter thing saying she did, I, like, believe she celebrated Kwanzaa even less. I'm like, it's everything she does just feels like that. It's just like doing what she said she was supposed. Like, someone says, say this, Kamala, do this, Kamala. Like, imagine her being promoted to the president. She won't be ready for it. It's gonna crush her. And I just imagine if I'm Kamala Harris, I'm not young in the scheme of, like, you know, humanity, but young in the scheme of being promoted to the office of president, especially with her experience, especially running for office and getting hammered the way she did. She wasn't liked ever. She's always been disliked. And then just all of a sudden becoming president, coming out of a pandemic, like, what an awful time for somebody who's not that experienced to just be handed the mantle of president. People are going to be very mad at the government if the economy doesn't recover fast enough. And are people going to care that it wasn't actually Kamala's fault if she's president? No, they're going to blame her for all of it. That's what I mean. If you're Kamala and you just go to your doctor and explain to your doctor what it feels like, they're going to prescribe you some stuff, man. They're going to prescribe you some effective stuff. And like I said, I feel like she's already gone to her doctor and described the stress of running for president, and they gave her some stuff to deal with the stress of running for president. And you could see it in her eyes sometimes, man. And you could definitely hear it in her voice. I want to go back. I'm going to go back and just do a video about that debate. I want to say it was the third debate. It was their last debate. Where it was like it reminded me, like, you know, like the old joke where like it's like, oh, if you're nervous to give like a speech or like a presentation, have like a shot first. And it's like, you know, the people will take like 5 shots and they just go up there and they're just drunk and make a fool of themselves. That debate, she looked like she was 1 shot away from being there. Just everything just went out of the corner of her mouth, grinning, just slurring her words. Like, Jesus. That poor woman. She must have been so nervous before that debate. And just imagining her being president now. Tell you what, correct me if I'm wrong on this. And if we're just being literal and factual. And this is no disrespect. It's I'm just talking facts here. I do believe Kamala Harris's mother, right, is from India. And I do believe India does have a caste system, right? And then I do believe, and again, let me know if I'm wrong. I could be wrong. I just don't know. I think her mother is from like one of the higher castes in India. Like, she literally does have some of like higher bred blood in her, right? So you could say in a way she was born to be better than other people and to lead them. But I don't know. She doesn't exhibit it. She definitely, if it is true that she does belong in one part of her family to one of these higher castes, she's letting her ancestors down, you know. Not by being VP, but just like, I feel like if she gets promoted to the president, she's not going to perform that way. Which again, honestly, it's got nothing to do with her. People only can really operate at the level. That's why, you know what the best advice I've ever had anyone give me ever? The best advice I've ever had in my life was somebody said, honestly, don't really take advice from like experts and like the very best people at things, because legitimately their advice isn't for you. Like, if they're at the very top, they're the elite's bests, they probably do things and get away with things you couldn't. So don't listen to them. You know, like, I gotta be honest, I don't really care. Michael Jordan probably couldn't help me that much at playing basketball, because he's just like, honestly, dude, I'm just really good at basketball. Like, he works hard in practices, but it's just like, it's like, how the way of putting it? I guess I'll use Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant had a famously hard work ethic, right? Like, nobody could show you waking up super early to train super long hours. You have to just be either the kind of person who would be a madman who would do that, or you're not. And there's nothing wrong with not being that, in this example, basketball madman who goes to bed at 8 p.m. so they could wake up at 5 a.m. and train basketball for 7 hours, right? Like Kobe Bryant can do that, sure. But like, it's like the advice they would give you in the parameters of a human being who operates that way, it just isn't always going to be useful to you, because some people are actually outliers. Some people are actually exceptional people. It's why you'll notice, like, you can see it, again, using sports, a lot of the best athletes make really bad coaches and, like, managers of teams. They're often really bad at it because they don't realize how other people approach what they approach. They don't realize they're like, oh, wait a minute. Not everyone, like, lives and dies by basketball. Because they'll look at, like for example, Michael Jordan's famously bad at drafting players. And I have to imagine he looks at a young basketball player, right? And he's kind of looking at physically what they're able, like what they physically do, right? And then he imagines himself, where to Michael Jordan, you could tell that guy cared so much about basketball and being good at it. It was like all he cared about was being good at basketball and being the best. So, like, he looks at somebody and he's like, oh, if they view basketball the way I did, like the most important thing ever, it's something you dedicate all, like, your energy to being really good at, and they have these physical abilities, they'll be very good at basketball. Overlooking most people don't view things that way. Like, a lot of pro basketball players don't practice nearly as much as they should and other stuff like that, so. I don't know. That's why I always think it's funny, right? It's like, honestly, it's hard to take advice from the absolute best people, the experts, the top of the top. Because a lot of them are just exceptional people who just can get away with and can do things that most people can't. But I don't know. I believe in that, though. I believe very firmly in people being exceptional. And that's what I don't know, like, people say, like, ideas change things. It's like, honestly, dude, an idea can hang around for 1,000 years. Until the person comes around that acts on it, it doesn't do anything. It's the people that act on things that actually make the things get places, right? like Medicare for all or UBI can be, you could go blue in the face and die every day screaming on the corner how such and such is popular, such and such is popular, such and such is popular. Podcast hosts could bang their fist on the table. This is popular, this is popular, this is popular. One day a human being is going to come along who's actually going to will it forward because they're just, the idea isn't what does it, the person does. Cardin is doing what normal people probably should be doing. No offense to everyone hanging out in chat, but he's enjoying his New Year's Eve with his family. And actually, I'm going to be wrapping up the stream here right now to go try and enjoy a little bit of New Year's Eve with my family. Of course, living in LA, I swear to God, Mr. Government in Los Angeles, I will not be around anybody outside of my household. I understand. We're all in this together. We all have to do our part. But in all seriousness, literally, yes, I'm going to go home and just kind of stay. But there is some other stuff I want to take care of. And I want to make sure I give you everyone else some time to go home and not go home, but enjoy some time with their friends and their family. Hopefully not everyone lives in Los Angeles where you you're not able to spend time with your friends and family like I am not out here. But yeah, this is it. It's 2020, guys. So thank you everyone who hung around with us for 2020, right? Everyone with us through the post-Yang era. A lot of crazy stuff happened in a lot of different ways. Just a lot of crazy stuff's happened in a lot of different ways. But seriously, can't wait to keep doing some more of this stuff in 2021. And seriously, because I can't confirm I'll stick to, I'm not going to make any promises. But if you guys did like what's going on today and what has been going on over the last year, and you'd like to see some more stuff like it, stay tuned. I definitely have some plans for some more fun stuff going on here, kind of like this. If you're interested in my me and Cardin's weird, interesting. I don't know if you want to, if you want to follow, I think I'm going to start my journey next year advocating for serious considerations to pushing towards the United States of America becoming something that runs closer to a constitutional monarchy than a representative democracy or republic, basically a democratic republic. I honestly think democratic republics have kind of, they've ran their course. I think there's features that come with democratic republics, don't get me wrong, but I don't know, man. There's also a lot of features that come with democratic republics. So maybe we'll talk more about that next year. Either way, though, great time tonight. Great time as always hanging out with you guys. And, see you guys hours from now, realistically. Dozens of them, tens of them, but still, in a couple days, we'll be back in 2021 doing this all again. Not next time, but hopefully a couple streams from now, you guys will be seeing me in a much different background, a much different setting as well. And hopefully once that happens, we can start talking a lot more about the Andrew Yang campaign. Again, Kamala watch. So I do feel it's basically inevitable that Kamala takes over for Biden eventually. So we'll be on Kamala watch. All that stuff. But yeah, I don't know. Kind of crazy thinking last stream of the year for 2020. Yeah, I was trying to think what we did for the last stream of the year in 2019. And then I remembered I was actually celebrating 2019 with my friends at the end of the year last year because there wasn't a lockdown. But different times, different things. It's all good. Hope everyone has I will actually, speaking of Kobe, right? I mean, that date's coming up, right? I think it was just after the first. Oh no, was it? I think it was just after the first. I honestly forgot. But either way, I know it was around this time of year. This is a weird time of year for me. But yeah, remember Kobe. I believe MF Doom just passed away. Something I was thinking about. Again, do you know what I want to do? I'm going to look right into this camera. Whatever record company owns the rights to Last Christmas by Wham. What I would have loved to do right now was just for free, I would have loved to advertise that song and that music video and encouraged everybody watching this to go out and purchase the song and stream it through official means, much as I would have been streaming it. But because how copyright works, somehow one person taking it upon themselves to just advertise stuff for free and encourage people to go out there and buy these things for free. Somehow that's bad for these companies. So I can't do that. I can't do that to give a send off because just talking about recent passing away. George Michael, remember, December 25th, Christmas Day, just a couple years ago passed away. So I would have loved to have done that. But can't. Just can't. Or an MF Doom song. Just can't. Apparently that's bad. It's a bad thing for me to do that. It's bad for me to promote things to people. I'm sorry. That just does legitimately bother me. It does. Because I would love to do that. I would love to just do streams where I just literally act as a shill, shamelessly promoting different songs and movies and TV shows that I think over the years have got overlooked and are not generating enough revenue for these massive companies that God knows need to generate more revenue. And I'd love to help them do that. I want to help them generate revenue. I want to help them generate so much revenue, but I can't do it. They won't let me. So, hey, not going to happen, right? Matter of fact, go out there and pirate every MF Doom and George Michael song you can ever think of. Just pirate all of them. Steal them. That was a total aside. Either way, hope you guys have a great night. Hope you guys have a great new year. See you guys in the new year. And again, hopefully be seeing you guys a lot more frequently heading into the new year. So